the tears are rolling down like a river to the ocean, and there's no one else around. You won't question my devotion. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know that I know that you know that I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine if your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone, I will be there. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. 2 a.m. I'ma pick you up. I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. Whoa, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you.
Hi, everyone. This is Voices of Serenity, and I am your host, Heather. And tonight we have a very special guest. Her name is Denise Bossarte. Did I say that right?
Yeah, close enough.
Perfect. Okay. She is an author, and she has written a self-help book called Thriving After Sexual Abuse, Break Your Bondage to the Past, and Live a Life You Love. So if you would like, you can introduce yourself and tell us what your book is about.
Sure. Thanks, Heather. I really appreciate the opportunity to come have a conversation with you about my story and my book. So my book is really for other survivors who are looking for some help on their healing journey, whether you're male or female, no matter your age, and no matter where you are in your healing journey. So if you're just getting started, my book can help you figure out how to find a therapist, what questions to ask, where do you look, what type of therapist to look for, how to find groups. And if you are already connected with the therapist or groups, I have all kinds of things that have worked for me that I recommend exploring. And it's really a book I'm asking for the readers to be engaged. I suggest you get a journal, because at each of the chapters, I talk about a different practice that I've done, like yoga, meditation, creative arts. And in each of those chapters, I've got questions for the readers that they can journal on to really consider for them what would work and what to explore. So it's kind of like the blueprint or guidebook I wish I had had when I started my healing journey. I'm offering that to everyone as an inspiration and as a guide to help them.
That is amazing. Just for our listeners out there, where is it that they can purchase your book?
So it's on all the major platforms: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, iTunes, wherever you can go buy books. I wanted to make sure it was as broadly available as possible. And if you're curious to know more about me or the books or other resources, I have my website, thrivingaftersexualabusebook.com. And you can go there to see the other things that I have to offer in addition to the book. I have a healing library, I call it, where I reference all the books that helped me and other things. So thrivingaftersexualabusebook.com.
That is perfect. I will make sure that I put that in the description. So for those who are interested, please feel free to check out the website and all the links. I think that's a really amazing thing. It seems as though, of course, there's books on so many subjects on different levels. And of course, even in regards to rape and sexual assault. But it's unfortunate, because I also feel like, those who are survivors and those who are wanting to heal and work out their trauma and, et cetera, they don't know where to start. They don't know what books to go to. And it's just, you're kind of at a standstill because you don't know what research to look for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I was when I started. I'm like, I read The Courage to Heal, and I didn't know where to go next or what to try next. So I sort of haphazardly, little by little, figured out what felt good, what was good, the yoga, the meditation, all those things. And I just was exploring. So when I decided that I could write a book to help other people heal, I wanted to provide as many resources and explanations as I could, links to things. I have a resource appendix for folks to find all kinds of helpful information. And, instead of saying, well, just Google it, well, Google what?
Right.
How am I
Yes.
supposed to find this? So I'm very specific, have lots and lots of links throughout the book, and then the questions also at the end of each chapter, because I wanted this to be not only a workbook, but sort of a blueprint of where you could get started and how you can keep going along your healing journey.
That's awesome. So I know that you made mention of, you weren't sure where to go in regards to your healing and everything. So you developed this book while you were healing and afterwards, and so to speak, to help other survivors. What was it exactly that made you say, you know what, I'm going to write a book?
Yeah, people are like, "Are you crazy? Why would you want to do that?" And I, I actually, when I first got started with yoga, I was just cracked open, and I started writing a lot of poetry. Now, I had been a poet from when I was little, writing short stories and poetry, so I've been creative my whole life. But when I started doing yoga, that's when things really opened up for me, and I started writing poetry about my trauma experiences, my childhood sexual abuse, and my healing journey. And at that point, my husband's like, "Oh, you should publish this. You should get this out there. It would help people." I'm like, who's going to read a bunch of poems about trauma? And who's going to publish that? And I'm one of those people that don't have a lot of memories, and I can't really place those memories within a timeline. It's a trauma brain. This is what you end up.
Right.
And so I couldn't write the traditional memoir. And I'm like, well, what do I have to offer then? Right. So I was in that space for a long time, and I kept working on my healing journey and discovering new things. And then I heard about Dr. Larry Nassar and how he had abused over 200 or more gymnasts. And my heart just cracked open for these women and these girls. And a light bulb went off. I was like, I don't have to have a memoir. I don't have to have all the details. I know what happened. I can talk about my experience and how it impacted me, but I can focus my book on healing and helping people to heal. And I was just driven at that point that I had this vision, this mission that I wanted to help heal other people, that to make something that I was able to transform for myself, make that something people could transform themselves as well. And through all the difficulties of writing, I started this in 2017, and it was a long journey to write the book. Obviously, it was itself a part of my healing journey, and I could maybe write a paragraph at a time or a chapter, and I couldn't write it linearly. I didn't start at the beginning and go through the end. I was jumping around, and actually the beginning that introduces me in my story came last because it was so hard to write. But
Yeah.
through everything, I kept thinking, you can help people. You need to do this. You can help people. Believe in yourself, and don't worry about what people are going to think or what they're going to say. Because at that point, I had not told very many people about my story, just a few trusted friends and boyfriends over the years, my family, but I wasn't out publicly about it until I started, doing some writing of poetry last year, and self-published a little poetry book that had some poems about my abuse, and, posted on social media about that. But this was going to be a bigger deal, right? A bigger deal. But I couldn't not do it because I knew I had gone through so much, and I had the way to put it together. I knew how to self-publish books. I could get it out there and I could help people.
That is so amazing. I love that. And it's always so scary because, say, for example, with my podcast, Voices of Serenity,
Mm-hmm.
I have this idea and this want to help other survivors, know that you're not alone, that you can get help with healing. But then it's also scary because it was almost like the same thing in the very beginning. Those who were close to me knew about only one of my instances with abuse. I
Mm-hmm.
had never told about the sexual assault that I had endured in middle school. And I actually came out with that for the first time here on my show.
Wow.
And it was almost like earth shattering. It was scary. I know that I needed to do it so I can start healing and not hold it in. But I was terrified,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but the bigger picture of, I can start my healing process. but it can help others who have gone through this in similar situations to know, you're not alone. Because in that mindset, it's almost like, okay, here I am. In reality, I know I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're triggered and you're upset and, you're going through that roller coaster of emotions, you do feel like you're alone and no one understands. And, it is a process.
And in your head, you're not alone because, especially today, when I started way back when, there wasn't as much known about it. There weren't the resources. Now we have trauma informed meditation, trauma sensitive yoga. I mean, we've got so many resources now, but, even if your head tells you one thing, you can't control what your heart feels. And your heart feels like you're not worth it, that you're full of shame, that no one could
Right.
possibly understand what you're going through. And what we're trying to do is to say that that's not true. Don't listen to the lies that you were told when you were assaulted or abused. They were lying to you when they told
Absolutely.
you things. What you need to tell yourself is, I am so worth it. I'm a beautiful human being and I deserve everything that I want in my life. I deserve pleasure and joy and having a thriving life. And I can do that. It's going to take some hard work and it's going to take some diligence and patience and determination, but I can figure out what to do to heal.
Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And, knowing that there is so many resources out there in regards to, say, therapists, psychologists, the yoga, the whole nine yards. There's so many out there, but it's almost as if it's you don't really know about it. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
find, it's shadowed. Um, you really have to put in the work and search for it. And it's a shame because with rape and sexual assault, it is honestly such an epidemic that unfortunately doesn't seem like it's going to go away. And I really strongly feel that these resources and these means of coping and healing and trying to get help, they need to be more publicly known.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
So,
agree. And that's what I try to do in my book is you don't have to guess. I'm telling you, this is the website you can go to. This is where you go to look. If you need a therapist, these are the questions that you should be asking the therapist. You shouldn't go and be a passive person. You should be really active in choosing your therapist who has experience with trauma or abuse. That's the fantastic part about the times we live in is that you can do telehealth and you can find someone that is going to be an expert and that you connect with. It may take a little bit of time to find the right one, but like me, it took me a few tries to find a good therapist. But once you have that resource, it's invaluable. And I kind of feel that people should have that as the cornerstone of what they're doing. But then from there, I explored a lot of other things to help me go beyond what talk therapy maybe would be able to do. The yoga was healing for my body, that from hating my body, helping me move to loving my body, meditation for getting those voices out of my head that were telling me I wasn't perfect and I was the opposite. In fact, I was horrible, getting those voices quiet so I could just have some peace, literally peace of mind, and
mhm.
picking up my camera, getting outside, getting in touch with that real creative space, that inner child that loved to play and create that kind of got pushed aside, reintroducing her to being creative and just tapping into things that I needed for myself beyond talk therapy that I needed to go through to really heal deeply and fully.
Yeah. I know that, there's been a few times here on my show where I have touched base in regards to therapy because it is sad, but it's also very scary to know that unfortunately a lot of survivors, they don't understand that, which is no fault of their own, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that when they go to a therapist, it's within their right to do a trial and error in regards to a therapist because you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to click with each one. One could be more triggering than the other. They may not specialize in rape and sexual assault and sexual abuse. And, so when they're trying to get help in regards to therapy, they feel uncomfortable if they have the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
And, it feels trapped. And then it's like they're not breaking the cycle because they don't know their rights within someone who is trying to heal, needing to heal. So, I think that's a wonderful thing that within your book, you go through and through with those steps because, it's so important.
Yeah, and I even give the example that, I first got into therapy when I was in college. I had a boyfriend who was real supportive and encouraged me to get into individual therapy, which got me into group therapy with some women. And also, I got into of Incest Anonymous group that had men and women. But the first therapist that I tried to work with when I was in college at the counseling center, I, I was dating two guys at the same time, which wasn't really smart, but that's where I was at that time. And she was so judgmental about that. Like I was breaking some moral code and I was a horrible person. I'm like, hello, I feel like crap right now about myself. I don't need you to judge me. So
Right.
I stopped going to her. And then I found someone who was absolutely wonderful. And her attitude was, is this working for you? Is this really what you want to do? How do you feel about this? How does it feel to treat these people this way? And help me think about it rather than just telling me I was bad. She helped me say, well, is this what you want to do? And so I knew, when I first met her that it was going to be a good fit, but it wasn't right out of the box the first person. And that's frustrating. You want to get help. You finally get up enough energy and courage to do it. And then you're like, okay, this is not working. This is not clicking. Well, sometimes it works the first time, but don't be afraid to be willing to change. Don't be afraid to go after someone else that can be a better fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, it's so scary to, you know, sit here and think, okay, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I'm going to get help. I know I need to get help. I know I need to get this figured out. And you schedule the appointment for the therapist. And of course, naturally, you're already questioning yourself of, do I even need this? And there's so many questions going through your head. And then you go to that therapist and you feel worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you feel worse, you get very discouraged, and then, why did I even do this? Maybe I'm fine, etc. And it's just heartbreaking. And it's something that I feel that everyone should know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't want to scare anybody off, but there is the reality of you got to find the right fit because this is going to be a very important person in your life, and you want them to be able to be someone you feel comfortable with, that you trust, and I found that person, and I think you can too. It just may not be as easy as you would like it to be, but you got to fight for yourself. This is what it's about. You're fighting for your very heart and soul and mind, and you're worth keep going until you can find the right person, because then it's just amazing what can happen.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's, when a survivor, when they're finally starting to, heal, it's almost like it hits you in the face when you realize that you're starting to heal. You're finally starting to piece things together and understand, and it's almost like 10,000 pounds have been lifted off your shoulder because it's like a big giant aha moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As someone really that hears you, someone really sees you. I mean, that was the thing growing up. It started when I was in elementary school, didn't really have those memories, but I just felt always I had to be on guard that any minute something bad was going to happen. This monster was going to get me, even if I couldn't really consciously understand that or speak to that or verbalize that. I just was afraid of the world. That got in my DNA. And to be able to find someone that I could trust, that could see me, could hear my voice, encouraged me to find my voice and to discover myself, it was really amazing to shift into this other place that I really couldn't visualize for myself without having someone there to guide me towards that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really couldn't agree more. It's, and it's so scary because, you already don't want to trust someone. You're so scared that someone else is going to hurt you. They tell you that they understand and they're going to help you. So you're already doing so much to even take that first step,
Mm-hmm.
and I always make sure that I tell survivors that I work with, or those who are even just listening, taking that first step is such a giant step. It's not a little baby step, it's very huge, and even just wanting to heal, wanting to get help, realizing that, this has affected me so much and my life, my emotional state, mental state, even sexual state.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this. I need to fix this and work on this and, just learn how to heal. It's that first step of realizing that you want to do this is so monumental and should
Mm-hmm.
never be taken lightly. And, I just,
Yeah.
things like this, I find so amazing because sadly and unfortunately, like we said earlier, this isn't something that seems to be very well known.
Yeah, and we're getting to a better place where, in general, for just regular people, I guess, non-survivors, that it's not as stigmatizing to go and get help. So in general, I think that that's improved, but I just don't think that people who have survived all the trauma that they've experienced understand that that it's possible that they can find someone who could help them and how to do that. I really try to walk people through in my book how to do that, because it's scary. You feel overwhelmed. It's like, where
Yes.
to start? And I'm like, here's where you go. Here's the different sites you can go to. This is what you need to think about with your insurance. This is what you need to write down and have ready. These are the questions you want to ask the person you're going to, because you have a right to do that. You have a right to interview them, interview whoever you're going to talk to. And if they don't like that, that's a sign that you should go, to someone else. But they should be willing to answer your questions, like, well, how are you going to treat me? And how is this going to work? You have to be able to ask those questions so that you feel comfortable understanding what kind of container they're going to provide for you, where they're going to be heading, kind of what their thoughts are about the whole process. And, it's just something that you have a right to figure out for yourself. And I encourage people to have a journal, and when they're working through my book, so they can write down the answers to all these questions and come back to it. Because sometimes, when you've got a trauma brain, it's hard to remember stuff. It's like, what did I do? How did I get those questions answered? What was the answer? And if you journal and keep track of that, you have something to reference, and, you have something to record what's going on. You could even record notes about what you're doing in your sessions, if they've given you some kind of assignment, or just your thoughts and feelings about the session. It's a great way to kind of keep track of things and really get your feet on the ground.
Yeah, it really is. And, with how detailed you are within your book on helping others, basically empowering them
Mm-hmm.
to get this help and to start healing, it's nice to have a book like this, where you can get help. Because, another problem that I do see is a lot of survivors don't have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that support. They don't have that person that they can go to. Um, and honestly, there is people, friends, family, that do kind of almost shun
Mm-hmm.
getting help because, oh, well, how would it look on me? How would it look on us?
Mm-hmm.
So those who don't have a support system, this is such a wonderful tool basically to have with them. And it's something that they can carry on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, okay, I read the book, I'm done.
Right.
Things like this, it carries with you and it stays with you.
And you can actually go back to the book as kind of explore one thing for a while. You might, I'm ready to try some other stuff. So you can come back to the book. And journaling with the book is great, because sometimes you get to the point you're like, I'm not making any progress. I'm not healing. Nothing's happening. I still feel real shitty about myself. Why can't I feel better? What am I doing? And so if you look at the journaling you've done, you'll be like, oh my gosh, look what I did. I've actually made progress. I haven't been paying attention maybe. And now I can look back and say, yeah, look what all the things that I've tried. I'm ready for something next in the book to see what's going to happen and push me forward on my healing. So it serves sort of in the moment to help you where you want to go. And it's great to refer back to both the book and your journaling so that you can see what next steps you can take.
Yeah. And, even just that alone, if having those thoughts of, like you just said, maybe I'm not making progress, etc. And then looking through your journal and seeing the progress that you made, just that alone is so empowering. It's so empowering to know that, oh my gosh, I see my work in comparison. I see how I was so much better, and it's more uplifting. And then you get such a motive and a drive to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. And healing is not going to be linear. You're not going to get on the Autobahn and drive a million miles. And, it's, it's
Exactly.
one step forward, two step back sometimes is what it feels like. But
Yeah.
appreciate you're never losing what you have experienced. You're not really losing anything. It may feel like a setback or a delay or you're stalled out, but you're really not. Sometimes your subconscious needs to do a little processing for you. And there's a lot going on under the covers that you may not be aware of and just doesn't seem like it's happening. And all of a sudden you're leaps and bounds further along. And it's more like a spiral. You come around to some of the same things. Maybe you have some of the same triggering, but your response is going to be different because you've grown, you've healed, you've gotten more resilience. And so what used to be extremely triggering or throw you off for days, now you can kind of deal with it. I even encourage people, if you have triggers, to identify them and build a plan on how to deal with them in the moment when they happen, get your support system, so there's ways that you can kind of prepare for things. We can't be in control of our lives 100%. That's unreasonable to expect that. But at the same time, you can set yourself up for success and to make sure that you've got the boundaries there and the tools there that you need.
That is amazing. I'm very excited with this episode because I'm so excited to hear of all the survivors that have checked out your book and have purchased your book and is working with your book to have something like this by their side at all times. It's amazing, honestly. And I'm so excited to get this book, out there more.
Yep.
Because I really feel like it's really essential.
And it's, to me, like I said, it's a heart project because I know that people really need some help to get started, or maybe they're kind of stuck a little bit. They need something else to get them going. And this book is really not meant for just to be women doing the work. We know how many women, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men, and men need support as well. So it's really not just for women, it's for men, and it's for all ages. It's for mental health professionals. We want them to have this as a resource so they can recommend it to their clients. It's for whoever, and it could be for supporters. It might be really informative for people who are loved ones of mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and spouses and partners. It's good reading for them to be able to get some insight into what survivors are going through and what it's like to have gone through that and where things might be available for them so that they can support their partner's healing, their loved one's healing. And like my husband, he never told me what I needed to do or how I needed to go about my healing journey, but anything he saw that was helping me, like the yoga, he's like, honey, you want to go to yoga 3 nights a week? Go for it. I'm happy for you to be there. I know it helps you. And in fact, he would be telling me, you haven't gone to yoga recently. Maybe you should do that. So totally supportive of anything that I tried, but was not having to be there with me, was not having to have me explain everything about what I was doing, but just knowing that I was healing and that these things were important to me. He was just really supportive, and again was the one that was there the whole time championing writing the book and encouraging me to do that, and is really thrilled that I was able to pull it together and put it together for folks. And he really is, like me, strongly believing that it's going to be helpful to people.
That's so wonderful, and it's so nice that this book, as you said, it's for everyone, survivors, those who want to understand, women and men, all ages, because as I've said many times on my show, everyone can talk about rape and sexual assault, but not everyone can understand it. And even, even spouses or, family friends who don't understand, who, honestly, thankfully have never been through this. They don't understand what it's like. Um, you know, just to have a book that they can read and work through to even help them understand also seems like a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know I mean, obviously, of course, there's lots of resources out there, but again, the hardest part is figuring out where. How do I find it? How do I word it? What do I say? So the fact that this projects in all realms, survivor, non-survivor, in one book, it's just, I want to see it everywhere. I want
I
everyone to
hope.
have it.
My hope is just that it gets into everyone's hands that need it. I have this thought, okay, universe, I want every mental health professional to have a copy. They need to have a copy. They need to be given a copy when they're in school. And in fact, I want every college freshman to have this as available as a resource. That should be in every counseling center and every college and university. Because that was one of my key demographics, would be college age kids, because they're
Yeah,
finally, hopefully, getting out of the abusive environment, away from their abusers. They're able to get out on their own, and the first time to maybe start their healing journey. And please, oh universe, help these younger folks find the book so that they can start early and not wait to be like me, that I didn't get started to really late. Even though I started my work in college, I was pretty slow to ramp up, and it took me a long time to figure out what I should be doing and what was helpful to me. So I'm hoping that this book could be the workbook, the blueprint, the guide for people of that age to really get a jump start and start their healing, and therefore be able to live a life of a thriver uh, much sooner and for much longer.
absolutely. Absolutely. I do know that, again, for our listeners, the link for the book is going to be in the description. But I'm also going to be putting it on all the social media platforms in regards to Voices of Serenity, my nonprofit Threads of Serenity. Um, this book is very essential, as we've said multiple times, because it really is. It's very essential. We need it. It needs to be out there. People need to know the help. You're not alone. You can heal, survivors healing together. Those who have never experienced this, they can get a better understanding and a better grasp and a better understanding on how to work with and help your loved one who is a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so excited to see this flourish. I hope and pray, as it should be, that this book is everywhere.
Well, I hope that comes true. That's been my goal all along, and that's what me kept going when the going got really hard with writing the book. I just had this feeling that I really needed to do it. It was a purpose for me to take and transform what had happened to me and to make it available for people, and just hoping by getting into conversations like people like you, Heather, and getting on podcasts, getting word of mouth out there, that eventually it would get into the hands of everyone who needed it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful, well, very wonderful book, very wonderful idea. And I'm very out there for your dream in regards to it being everywhere.
Well, thank you so much for your support, and give me the chance to share it with your listeners and to give them some inspiration, and hopefully that they'll find the book as inspiring as you have.
Oh, I'm sure that they will. I'm very sure. I'm very excited. As always, our episode here tonight is going to be on all platforms that podcasts are listened to here within the next few days. It'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So the word will definitely be out there.
And thank you so much for what you're doing, Heather, to really bring inspiration and hope to other survivors. I know that this is a heart project for you with all the work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you giving your heart and soul to helping other survivors find ways that they can heal and really improve their lives.
Thank you. It can be hard sometimes, but kind of like as we've discussed tonight, you know, other survivors need to know that they're not alone, that they can heal. They can heal with other survivors. These real and hard topics need to be discussed. It can't be swept under the rug. So try to do what I can.
And you're doing a lot, so we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, again, we are going to have the description with the description box. It's going to have the link for the book. It's also going to be on all of the other pages, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. It'll be out there. And hopefully you'll have a lot of people purchasing your book.
Yeah, and I just hope that there's a lot of people that hear about the book. And if you know of someone that could benefit from having this kind of resource, please share it with them. Help spread the word so that we can get help to all those folks that really need it and can get some healing happening out there.
Yes, absolutely. Survivors healing together. Absolutely. Well, Denise, I thank you so much for being on the show and discussing your book. And I'm so excited to see this flourish.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed a chance to talk with you, Heather.
Thank you. And if you would like, you are more than welcome to come back here soon. And hopefully I will have survivors that make mention of the book and give reviews. And you are more than welcome on the show anytime.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if people want to comment or write in and have more questions, that we could get together and maybe answer some of the questions that have come up for people around the book, that would be fantastic. I would love that.
Yes, absolutely. We will definitely make it happen. Okay, well, Denise, I thank you so much. And for all that is listening, thank you for checking in tonight. And we will be back soon with another episode.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You as well.